Marshal Matt Dillon, a man whose reputation was carved by quiet competence rather than loud bravado, found his isolated ranch at the edge of the territory of Aralia, struggling against the ceaseless drought. His small cabin sat 15 miles from the nearest outpost of civilization, Red Fork. The storm had broken an hour ago, yet the mud in his yard offered a sight that defied all logic. 2 women lay unconscious near his corral fence, where his few remaining livestock drooped listlessly. I would love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Share it below, join our family, and let's dive into the story. These were not ordinary women. They were Apache, a mountain tribe from the northern peaks and giants even among their legendary people. The shorter one still easily topped 6 feet, her frame corded with the dense muscle of a wilderness hunter. The taller woman was immense, nearly 7 feet of bone and sinew, her shoulders wider than Matt's blacksmith forge. Apache women of this magnitude were figures of frontier myth, daughters of high-ranking chiefs, trained to lead and fight, yet never seen far from their entire hunting party. Their clothing was rich with leather and bone carvings, their heavy silver jewelry alone worth more than all of Matt's worldly possessions. Blood stained the shorter one's tunic near her ribs, while the massive, taller woman was fighting for every shallow breath. They had clearly fled a confrontation, sustaining injuries dangerous enough to leave them vulnerable. Every instinct in Matt screamed that helping the Apache meant a death sentence from his own people. This was the iron law of the hostile territory. But when the towering woman's eyes fluttered open, locking onto his, Matt saw not the expected savage aggression, but a stark, desperate human fear. It was the same hollow dread he felt watching his life's work wither away, powerless to stop it. She spoke a few choked syllables in the Apache tongue, her voice deep and accustomed to command, before consciousness slipped away again. Standing over 2 fallen women who could crush him with their bare hands, Matt understood that the next few minutes would either brand him the biggest fool in Aralia, or reveal a depth of character he never knew he possessed. The decision that would change everything came down to a few agonizing moments, and 2 dying giants. Matt knelt beside the Apache women, his hands steady despite the immensity of the task before him. The shorter giant stretched nearly 6.5 feet, her arms thick and powerful. The taller one, close to 7 feet, was a true sight to behold. Both carried the lean strength of trained warriors, built for survival in the harshest mountain terrain. The shorter giant had a deep wound near her ribs, and her breathing was ragged. The taller one had a severe gash on her forehead, but her eyes, now clear and sharp, tracked his every move with a dangerous, intelligent intensity. Matt's ranch was 40 miles from Red Fork. Out here, helping the Apache was treason to the settlers, a choice punishable by hanging if discovered. He'd seen the mob justice of the frontier. The wounded giant's breathing grew shallower. She had maybe an hour. The conscious giant whispered in broken but clear English, her voice a low rumble. "Aid my sister quickly." The urgency hit Matt hard. Sister. The word brought back memories of his own younger sibling, lost years ago to the fever. But these 2 represented a far greater threat. Apache royalty whose absence would summon an entire vengeful clan. A roll of thunder signaled another approaching storm. These 2 would die in his mud yard if he hesitated. His neighbors would eventually find the bodies, assume he'd killed them defending his claim, and celebrate him as a hero. But as he looked into the conscious woman's face, fierce, high-cheeked and showing only resigned acceptance, Matt felt a moral fissure open up inside him. This wasn't about Apache or settler. It was about 2 human beings bleeding out, while he calculated the cost to his soul. "Damn it," he muttered, sliding his strong arms under the wounded giant's shoulders. She was impossibly heavy, pure muscle and bone, weighing more than any draft horse. The conscious giant struggled to her feet, swaying but immediately assisting, her sheer height making Matt feel dwarfed. Together they maneuvered toward his small cabin. Every step felt like stepping into an abyss. Behind them the wind whipped up, carrying the scent of dust and worse, a telltale sign of approaching riders from the canyon pass. As they reached the doorway, Matt realized the entrance was too narrow for the wounded woman's broad shoulders. They'd have to turn her sideways. "They come," the conscious giant whispered, her grip tightening as she stared at the horizon. Soon after, figures appeared on the ridge like vultures over a carcass. Matt pressed against the wall, peering through a crack in the shutters. 5 Apache warriors sat their horses, scanning the valley below. Their war paint was vivid, their long rifles resting across their saddles. "Your sister," Matt whispered to the conscious woman, who had identified herself as Lila. "What did she do? Why the pursuit?" Lila's jaw clenched as she pressed a torn piece of cloth against her sister's wound. Anna defied the chief's son, refused his claim of marriage. He would not tolerate the dishonor. The brutal simplicity of it, a woman refusing a man, and now facing a death hunt. Matt thought of the freedoms his badge nominally protected. "The warriors. How much ammunition do we have?" Lila asked quietly, expertly checking the long hunting knife at her waist. Matt counted his rounds, 12 for his rifle, 6 for his pistol. Against 5 experienced mountain warriors, it was nothing. Not enough. Anna's eyes fluttered open, unfocused by fever. She spoke a rapid sequence of syllables to her sister. Lila's expression darkened with each word. "What did she say?" Matt demanded. "The warriors. They are not here for us alone," Lila said slowly. "They are here for you." The words made no sense. Matt had never wronged the Apache. His ranch sat on land he'd paid for, a worthless scrap, but legally purchased. "Why me?" Lila studied his face, her sharp eyes assessing his strength. Outside, the warriors began their descent, moving with the silent, deadly precision of practiced hunters. 6 moons ago," Lila began, "an Apache girl was found near death by the river. A white man brought her to our clan. Left her with food and medicine. Gave no name. Asked no price. You remember this?" Matt's breath caught. "A young girl, maybe 14, half drowned and burning with fever. He'd found her checking his creek traps. Stayed until she was stable, and guided her toward the north before riding back. He'd never told a soul. She was the chief's favored niece," Lila continued. "Chief Murai swore a sacred blood oath to the nameless white man who saved her life. But some warriors deny the debt is owed to any settler. They come to test the truth of her story. And your honor." The sound of hoofbeats grew deafeningly close. This wasn't about the women he'd sheltered. It was about a debt he never knew existed. A life he'd saved without understanding the deadly implications. The horses stopped just outside his door. A harsh voice called out in the Apache tongue. Lila reached for Matt's arm, her grip firm and warm. "What you do now, Marshal," she said, using his title deliberately, "decides if you live as our friend or die as our enemy." A heavy fist pounded the door, and a voice called out in rough English. "Marsh, we know you hold the women inside. Come out now." Matt gripped his rifle, his knuckles white. Lila helped her sister sit up against the wall. Both giants were preparing for battle. Anna was pale but alert, her gaze fixed on the door with grim resolve. "If I go out, they'll shoot me down," Matt whispered. "If I stay, they'll burn us alive." "They will not burn," Lila contradicted firmly. "They seek a test of your courage, not war with a nameless man. It is the Apache way." Another voice, younger and aggressive, added, "You shelter women who scorn the chief's bloodline. This makes you enemy of the Apache people." The trap was sprung. If Matt admitted to helping Lila and Anna, he sided against the powerful chief's son. If he denied it, he lied to warriors who had seen the clear blood trail. Either path led to death, but Lila's next words changed his calculus entirely. "Tell them the truth of the river girl. Speak your full name." She was demanding he claim the blood oath to identify himself as the savior of the chief's niece. It meant gambling his life on the word of a young girl from months past, betting that Chief Murai valued honor above political strife. The pounding became insistent. Matt saw 2 shadows moving toward his barn. They were out of time. "My name is Marshal Matt Dillon," he called through the door, his voice strong and commanding. 6 moons ago I pulled Chief Morai's niece from the canyon creek and brought her home safely. Silence fell outside, absolute and immediate. When the voice came again it was different, older, deeper, and more measured. Show yourself, Marshal Matt Dillon. Bring the women. Lila nodded, then helped Anna struggle to her feet. Anna swayed but remained standing, her hand pressing her bandaged ribs. Together the three of them moved to the door. Matt lifted the heavy wooden bar and pulled the door inward. 5 Apache warriors sat their horses in his yard, their faces stern beneath the war paint. But now their expressions held something else. Uncertainty, perhaps even respect. The leader, a man with streaks of gray in his braids, studied Matt with intense curiosity. You are smaller than the daughter described, the warrior said. She called the white man a mountain spirit who fought the river gods. Despite the peril, a faint smile touched Matt's lips. I'm just a rancher, sir. Found her trapped in debris. Helped her to safety. The leader's gaze shifted to Lila and Anna. These women have brought shame upon the chief's son. Why do you shelter them? The question hung in the air like a hangman's knot. Matt felt the weight of 3 lives on his answer. Because they needed aid, he said simply, meeting the warrior's gaze without flinching. The same reason I aided your chief's niece. The gray-haired warrior studied him for a long, heavy moment, then turned his horse toward the others. They spoke in rapid Apache, their voices urgent but low. When they finished, the leader looked back at Matt with an expression that might have been approval. Chief Morai arrives at sunrise, he announced. He will rule if the blood oath covers this act of defiance. You will wait here. The longest night of Matt's life began. After the warriors retreated to the darkness, he and Lila changed Anna's dressings. The deep gash had stopped bleeding, but infection was a real threat. Will he kill me? Matt asked quietly, watching Lila work with practiced, gentle hands despite her immense size. Your chief, Morai, is a just leader, she replied, not meeting his eyes. But his son has many powerful friends. They say marriage to Anna would unite the clans. Unity is worth more than one settler's life. Matt understood the cold math of power. His death could be the price of tribal harmony. Why did she refuse him? He asked, nodding toward Anna, who dozed fitfully against the cabin wall. Lila's face hardened. The chief's son has 3 wives. You beat 2 until they lost their children. Anna saw what happens to women who cannot say no. She looked at him directly. Some fates are worse than any death. Near midnight, Anna stirred awake, the fever finally beginning to break. She spoke softly to her sister, then turned to Matt with clear, intelligent eyes. Thank you, Marshal, she said in careful English, for helping when it brought such danger. Anyone would have done the same, Matt replied. The 2 sisters exchanged a look that suggested otherwise. Settlers help Apache before. Anna continued slowly, but never risk life for women who bring the chief trouble. You are different. Lila stood, moving to the window to check the horizon. Different is perhaps why you are still alive when the chief arrives. Perhaps why he will listen to his niece's words about the riverman. Or why he'll hang me quickly instead of slow, Matt said, attempting a joke, hearing the fear in his own voice. Lila turned back to him. In the lamplight he caught something in her expression. Not pity, but a profound recognition. Anna and I, we watched you tonight. Watched how you chose, how you act. She stepped closer, her massive presence filling the small space. You are not like the other men of the valley we know. The observation hung heavy between them, thick with possibility and danger. A sound outside made them freeze. Horses moving slow and steady through the darkness. Too early for the chief, too late for any friendly visitors. Lila pressed against the window, her body taut. 3 riders, not Apache. Her voice dropped to an urgent whisper. White men with badges. Matt's stomach dropped. If settlers had discovered the Apache women in his cabin, the morning's confrontation would be the least of his worries. Outside, a familiar voice cut through the night. Dillon, we know you're in there. Come out slow, hands high. Deputy Marshal William Rourke stepped into the lamplight, his badge glinting. Behind him 2 other lawmen fanned out, their hands resting on their gun belts. "Dillon, we have reports of mountain hostiles in this area," Rourke announced. "A tracking party says they headed this direction after attacking the Dagger Mesa settlement." Matt's blood ran cold. If Dagger Mesa had been hit, the valley would be screaming for Apache blood. Any found would be shot on sight. Behind him, Lila's 7-foot frame tensed. Anna remained motionless, but her power was coiled and ready. "Haven't seen any of the Apache," Matt said, stepping outside and pulling the door closed behind him. Rourke eyed him suspiciously. "Is that so? Because there's fresh blood on your porch, Marshal. And plenty of it." He gestured to one of his men, who immediately began examining the dark stains. "Cut myself clearing brush," Matt lied smoothly. "Axe slipped on wet wood, caught my arm." "Show me the cut," Rourke demanded. Matt's mind raced. He could not fake an injury. "Marshal," the deputy examining the blood called out, "this isn't from one man. Different patterns, different volumes. And these footprints," he pointed to the massive impressions in the mud. "They are huge, bigger than any man I've ever seen." Rourke's eyes narrowed as he studied the immense tracks. "What kind of company have you been keeping, Dillon?" "Don't know what you mean," Matt replied, sweat beading on his forehead. Rourke drew his pistol. "Step away from that door. We're searching your place." "Do you have a warrant for a federal marshal's property?" Matt asked, knowing the question was almost meaningless. "Don't need one for an Indian sympathizer," Rourke said coldly. "Stand aside." Matt knew he had seconds before the women were found, and all 3 would be killed. But as Rourke stepped toward the door, Matt made a desperate choice. "Wait," he called out. "You're right. There are Apache inside. 2 women, badly injured. They came seeking help." Rourke's gun swung toward him. "You admit to harboring hostiles?" "I admit to helping 2 dying human beings," Matt said firmly. "The same as I would for any other person." Rourke's face twisted with disgust. "Treason. You'll hang for this, Dillon." Behind the door, Matt heard the faint sound of movement. The sisters preparing for battle. But before anyone could act, one of Rourke's men shouted urgently from the ridge, "Marshal, more riders approaching from the north." Too dark to see how many. As the lawmen scrambled for cover, Matt realized their situation was desperate. Salvation or doom depended entirely on who rode out of the darkness. The riders were territorial agents. Rourke's confidence surged. "We have orders from the governor's office. All Apache harbored by settlers are to be brought in for immediate interrogation regarding Dagger Mesa." Matt's confession had only hastened their doom, but Lila stepped out voluntarily, her massive frame filling the doorway. "I am Lila, daughter of Chief Morai," she announced. "This man saved my sister's life. Apache law protects those who show mercy." Anna followed, and the lawmen were stunned by the giant's size. Rourke demanded they surrender, but Lila held her ground. "My father arrives at sunrise. Until then we remain under the protection of the blood oath owed to this marshal." Anna confirmed that Matt had claimed the life debt by helping them. Rourke scoffed at the savage superstition, but Lila pointed out the treaty recognizing Apache justice. The marshal conceded. "We'll wait until morning, but if your father does not show, all 3 of you are coming with us." Dawn brought Chief Morai and his elders. The chief calmly dismissed Rourke's accusations of murder, stating that his daughters had defended their honor, and Apache law applied. Chief Morai turned to Matt. "You are Marshal Matt Dillon. 6 moons ago you saved my niece. You have now saved 2 more of my daughters. This debt has grown very complex." The chief drew out a necklace of carved bone and jade. 3 lives saved creates an obligation beyond any simple blood debt. "Marshal Matt Dillon, you shall become my son through deed and honor." Rourke was enraged, but the chief smoothly cited the federal treaty that recognized the Apache right to adopt members and protect family lands. Matt accepted the necklace, accepting the immense freedom and heavy chain of belonging. As the chief prepared to leave, he turned back to Matt. "Son, tomorrow, I return with a different decision. Tonight think carefully on what adoption truly means." The next day, Chief Morai returned with a final shocking decision. The past months had seen Matt's ranch transformed into a thriving trading post, and his feelings for Lila had become undeniable. "When I made you brother to my daughters," the chief began, "I solved a problem of law, but I created a problem of the heart." Lila stepped forward. "Chief, I choose to speak. My heart sees him not as brother, but as a man worthy of a different bond." Chief Morai confirmed that Apache law allowed for the release of the family bond. He turned to Anna. "Younger daughter, what say you?" Anna stood tall, grinning. "I release Marshal Matt Dillon from brotherhood. He has earned the right to choose his own path, and my sister has waited long enough for happiness. Then I speak the final decision." Chief Morai announced. "I release Marshal Matt Dillon from adoption. He is no longer my son by law, but if he chooses, he can become my son by marriage." The ceremony followed, blending Apache tradition with territorial law. Standing nearly 7 feet tall in a wedding dress, Lila was a breathtaking sight, a beautiful, deadly giant choosing love over duty. 6 months later, as Matt watched his towering wife direct construction, he realized the giant Apache sisters had brought him not just love and prosperity, but a place in a world larger than any he had imagined possible.